Hello, RSQers. Welcome back. We just finished book 3 of The Devil You Know by Ben Schenkman. Too Many Gods in the Kitchen. We're gonna dive into this. Like I said, this is book 3 of 3. Trilogy is completed. Book 1, we gave a 10 out of 10. Book 2, we gave a 6.25 out of 10. What did we give this one?
Here
Let's
we
find
go.
out.
Let's see what it is.
My favorite, I guess. Probably my favorite is judging the book by its cover. Clear winner here. I mean, like I said, every single time, it reminds me of the opening scene in The Incredibles. Perfectly matches the rest of the set, which is, you wouldn't think you'd have to say, but you do. Perfectly matches the rest of the set.
For some reason, you have to say that.
It's just super well done. I mean, book 1 has 1 guy, book 2 has 2, 3 has 3. Like, there's very
I love the
good attention to
progression,
detail.
how the covers all build on each other and show like how the characters grow. The covers are great. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, these covers are heek. So yeah, I dropped my bookmark. Anyway, so yeah, Too Many Gods in the Kitchen is what we're reviewing today, and let's dive into it. Let's start off with our characters here. Dakota, how you feeling on our cast?
Good. I liked the character development in this. In all 3 has felt good. Nick's development has been good throughout all 3. We got a bigger cast in book 2, and I felt like that bigger cast was well developed. And same with this one. The character, the main 3, Amy, Rob, and Nick, we saw very well-rounded development from them. We got enough screen time to show their internal moral dilemmas and personal dilemmas, and I gave it a point here.
Yeah, I think progressively throughout we've gotten, we have these 3 main characters, and I feel like sometimes characters can kind of stop in a sequel, like when we read the Warrior right after the Coward. Our main character did not get any development really in the second book at all. They kind of put him by the wayside. I feel like this book did a good job of making sure our main cast still got development while introducing side characters that also had opportunities to grow, and introduce new characters that didn't necessarily need to grow, but that were, I feel like, fleshed out for what they needed to be. Which is good. And I felt like Leslie kind of took a seat in the second one when he was introduced, or they were introduced. So we should have gotten a little bit more in book 2, but I feel like this one gave them more of a personality, which I liked.
Yeah, I agree with that. We got more Lou and Leslie this book, which I think we got as much as we could have, because it's a short book and there's really not time to do.
It's
all
only 300
things.
pages.
Yeah, I could have still gotten more Lou and Leslie, but they were both much more prevalent and much more participants, much more active in this book than in book 2.
Yeah, I felt like it was one of those things where I wanted more, but because of our book length, there just wasn't necessarily as much room for more, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, and that's fine.
It didn't need it for the story, so it didn't 100% need to be there. It's just a personal want. We like the characters a lot, so give us more.
We like what you're doing. We want more. Give us more.
If you want more. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and then, easy point there. Same as the last one. I mean, the main cast of characters grew well, did good, was fully fleshed out. So onwards and upwards to our originality and creativity. How'd you feel about that one?
Yeah, this one, the full point. I felt like we're back to, we have our unique world and setting and everything that he's built, and we got a cool, unique story. Which we'll get into the next category, but I feel like it was, even for the world, it was pretty unique. We got a new god, couple actually new pantheons.
Yeah, we got a new pantheon.
Yeah, we got 2 new pantheons.
We did multiple new pantheons.
Yeah, so that was cool. I don't know. I liked a lot. I like how we kept going forward instead of moving back or just staying with what we had. We got more.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a full point. It was unique. It definitely changed it up compared to the first 2. That was a big complaint we had with the second one. We felt like it kind of fell into a similar a formula that was too similar to book 1, but really liked how he introduced the new pantheons and how he made them all like fit into this world that he's developed. It was really cool. Very unique, very creative, very original.
Which brings us to our engaging storyline. I really liked this story. I felt like I liked book 1. Book 1 was my favorite. And we got like a lot of the world building and introducing the characters, and the story was good, but it wasn't like, not crazy is the word I'm looking for. It was like a very linear story. This one had a lot of moving parts that all ended up connecting, and I liked how each character was doing their own thing, and they're like, which is probably connected, but we can't figure it out at the end. We're like, we're idiots. Like we knew this whole like why couldn't we
It's
figure
been
this out
connected
type thing.
all along.
Ah! But how it all connected to, I thought was cool with how Amy found her pantheon, which ended up dousing the warehouse, and Nick was working with Megna, I think her name was, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then their god came in and did things, and then just the pantheon she was attached to, the demon was also a big part of it. And I like the way it was all woven together.
Yeah, me
It was a
too.
lot of weaving together for 300 pages.
He did a
Good.
really good job. He did a really good job putting the puzzle pieces together. I had a brief moment in the middle where I was like, there are so many things going on. Are we gonna bring it home? Are we gonna bring it together? And the answer was yes. I gave it a point here
We
as
did it.
well because it was good. Storyline was really engaging. Everything, all the moving pieces were well done.
The moving pieces were moving.
Very happy to say that.
I'm happy to say that because, again, going back to book two, we did have a little bit of an issue with the story, especially in the middle, where it felt like things were just. I think you said the word meandering, which
Yeah,
I thought was good. We kind of just beat bopping around, and not. It didn't necessarily matter what was happening, or at least the story wasn't there for us. This
yeah,
one, I felt like it was a slam dunk compared to number two. I really
yeah.
enjoyed this
I
book.
agree definitely. Which takes us to the end of the story, the wrap up. I It really interesting flip mirror of book two. I really liked the ending on this one as well because it felt like all those moving pieces wrapped up really nicely. All the conclusions were hard earned, hard worked for.
Mm-hmm.
We had all these multiple storylines going on, all these problems that came together, and it was like they worked. That was one of my biggest complaints about the second one was I just felt like some of the solutions were too easy, but not the case in this one. All of the solutions were very hard
They were worked
earned, well
for.
earned. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lots of effort. It was, and I think that's ties more to the maybe to the storyline than we give it credit for, which is probably why it felt like in book two it wasn't well earned because the middle was it did meander a bit. But in this one, it was like they were working the whole time to solve these problems. So when it got to the solution, it was like you did it. You've earned this. You deserve it.
Yeah, and there really wasn't any loose ends. I really like epilogues. I don't know. I really enjoy seeing the after on on our story in books, whether it be they gave us a week later, they gave us a day later, they gave us a couple years later. I like to see where the characters, what's happening. And I felt like this epilogue perfectly capped it, but the cap is screwable. You take that cap right back off, and we can do another story if we want. But you don't need it. I feel like it ended the trilogy really well.
The cap is screwable. I
I
like
couldn't
that.
think of a better word. I don't
I
know.
like it.
That's
It's
just
good. It's good. It's
yeah.
capped, but the cap is screwable. It can be unscrewed. It can be screwed tighter.
Yeah. Because yeah. Anyway, we're sticking with it. It's screwable. World building and setting. Take it away, Dakota.
Yeah, I mean, it was great here too. We this tied back into I think what we said about originality and creativity and how it was unique. He continued to introduce new parts of his world and they were good. He continued to build on his world and show us how supernatural beings and these different pantheons all work together and what sort of effect they have and how it affects the mortals in the world. It was really cool. The world building was good. The setting, I will say that I feel like he's done a good job giving me a picture of this New Haven, which I believe is where he's from, this area that he's writing
It
about.
would
Or
make
he's,
sense the way he's describing it.
yeah, I think he says that in his preface or acknowledgments is that he's from New Haven. But I feel like he's done a really good job describing it to us and making me understand the city. And I frequently do feel like when someone uses a real life location that they don't try very hard to make people understand it because it's like a freebie, right? They're like, you know what this is like. It's what you think it's like. Anyways, moving on. But he's done a really good job
He went to
making.
college in New Haven. He's
Mm.
from Connecticut.
But I feel like he's done a really good job helping me understand New Haven, helping me understand like the vibe and the layout with the coffee shops and these warehouses and the water and just like describing the different settings. So stamp of approval.
Yeah,
Easy. Gave it a point here, both world building and setting.
I would agree. I feel like you said, the setting people tend to, or can be, not tend to, can be lazy when it comes to that because like it's New York. Like you should know what New York is. I shouldn't have to describe it to you. It's like, well, just because we know the place exists doesn't mean I need to be able to see it. If you're just like New York,
Yeah.
there's buildings. I'm like, okay, I guess. But that was well done. And in the world building, I felt like in this book specifically was the strongest because we had how the pantheons work, the relationship between Leslie and Lou and those types of things. I felt like it was unique to see that Leslie and Lou and the pantheons had such strong limitations on what they could do. Because a lot of times you see a god that's like they can just do anything. They're huge, they blow things up and do whatever they want. Screw mortals, whatever. And they have such like a rule book of things they can and cannot do. And I like that. I like that they had to kind of work around the legality of things. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And we got purgatory a lot too in this book and that dance. Right. I thought that introduction was cool.
Yeah, that was really unique. Yeah, I definitely, if I briefly tangent on this, it's a lot of the times I feel like in medieval fantasy worlds, like D&D-esque, like your generic fantasy worlds, we don't get good setting because they're just like, it's just a fantasy world. Elves, orcs, giants, castles,
village,
magic. You understand it. It's a fantasy world. And so whenever someone goes above and beyond to explain a setting, even when they think people should understand it, I appreciate it. Very appreciative.
Speaking of tangents, I think our buddy Ben has a caffeine problem. No, more than there's a couple days in the book, right? More than once a day, these characters are pounding coffees. I'm like, these people are ill with how much caffeine that they've had. There's no way. I was like, anytime something happened, like, oh, I need a double espresso, or I gotta make sure I get my latte. Oh, I'll have a tea. I'm like, y'all.
Ben, do you love your coffee? Is that what's going on here? Are you a coffee fiend? Are you fiending for some coffee?
He did say he was a foodie, but who, Ben?
Yeah. Does he make espresso? What does he have?
He really likes the Turkish coffee. At least his characters do. So let us know.
Let us know. Keep us posted.
Keep us posted.
All right. So then on to pacing and structure. Hit us with it. How'd you feel?
I felt pacing was great. I felt like the whole time things were happening. And I'm fine with lulls to like explain things or characters building up whatever they have to do. I didn't really feel like there was a lull in this. I felt like everything was moving for everything that had to happen. Everything was moving at like the perfect pace to keep that going along. And the big improvement I felt like in this book compared to the second one was the structure. The structure was okay in the second one, but the more I thought about it, I was like, because we said that we kind of lost the plot. I think it was just kind of like things were happening and there was no like road to travel on. This one, everything was like big windy roads, but everything had a destination. And I felt like all the points led to the places they need to lead. I like the structure was good. Full point.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I gave it a full point here as well. And what was I going to say here? Lost my train of thought. It moved along really well. And it, like you said, I think that I know what I was going to say. I feel like I don't know if he grew as a writer between book 1 and 3, or if he just decided he was going to stretch his wings, but really impressed with how he handled multiple points of view. Because normally when you have multiple points of view, it's something that's introduced in the very beginning. And if it's not introduced in the very beginning, it can be a little jarring when they switch. And I just feel like it has to be handled well when you go from one point of view to multiple points of view. And he did great. I mean, he did a great job.
I think he tested it in book 2 with the Amy intro, and I thought that was well done. But I think he's like, okay, that worked out, and then
he's
did it with this one and nailed it.
I got this.
Hey, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, no, it was great. I really liked how we saw the three sides of this same story, the three-sided this triangle. Each we saw different sides of this triangle from different points of view. It was good. Gave it a point.
Nice. Emotional impact. This I think we got my puppy.
Woof,
Riley
woof.
has things to say.
Bark, bark.
I feel like we disagreed a little bit on this one. And do you want to talk first or second on our emotional impact?
I'll talk first. Okay, maybe I'm being nitpicky here. And we did have a really long conversation last review about how much of our ratings are subjective and how much of it's about how we feel. So in light of the second book, I do feel like the emotional impact is a huge improvement in this one, that there were a lot of different emotions that went on and a lot of different emotional situations.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like the emotions were a bit lighter than I would have liked. And I think personally, what I'm looking for is more situations where, not that I am emotional, but that I feel like there's emotion in the air. Like there's like I can tell that there's emotion. And there were a couple in this one that there were strong emotion, like the end where Nick is in peril and he might die, and he's with Lou and Leslie, and they're like, "Hey, this could be the end, but we're gonna be here with you through it." Like that was really well done, and the way that they sat in that scene was fantastic.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other times where there were emotion, but I feel like it was pretty light, other than that like big scene. And so I, especially having, like, I started reading a different book today since we finished this one yesterday and we're just getting around to reviewing it, and being like out of this world and having another book that it has more emotions, I think puts it into kind of perspective for me. Like I could easily give this one, I think, a full point relating it just to book two, because the emotions in this one are stronger than book two. But I think on the grand scheme, I'm still looking for there to be more of an emotional impact than just like one or two moments. But I will say, like I said, I do feel like that those couple moments where we had a big emotional punch, they're really strong. So that is my soapbox.
I don't disagree. I just felt like I see exactly what you're saying, but I feel like I gave it the full point. And so with like the whole like Nick like dying scene, I think that one was so emotional because one, it was like a powerful emotion. Like you have a character dying, like there has to be a big emotion. And if there's not, then there's other issues that would be taking points off, like for writing style and stuff like that.
It's true.
But I feel like it works so well because you don't have to tell me the emotion that I'm feeling. And I think that's why we didn't like we gave it 0 points in the second book to compare the
Yeah.
two, because you were telling me, I felt like I was being told how I should feel at these points. I feel like I should feel them by the character interactions and what they're saying, instead of the characters literally telling me point blank what they're feeling, and not like by the way that they're speaking to each other per se. And I felt
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I felt like this one, um, you really see that with Nick dying. I felt like there was a couple times where there could have been more emotion, especially with Nick. I feel like Nick was one of the more emotionally stunted characters in this. But I felt like I could tell that the emotion was there, more so there, especially with like Megna, when she like couldn't decide whether she was gonna go with her pantheon or the demon, resign with the demon, and then when she finally resigned, she's going to sign with the demon. Like that was a big emotional thing. And when she showed up at the warehouse, it was going to burn it down because she like didn't know what else to do. Like she was just emotionally distraught. Like I felt like that was good too. And I felt like even Rob, when he laid into Leslie and Lou, like
Yeah.
just exploded on them, like how dare you guys, like I didn't need them to tell me he was angry. I could see it by what he was
Yeah. You could
saying and
feel
his
it.
actions. So I felt like that was better. I was, like I said, I wish I would have saw more from Nick. I felt like Nick was kind of just, he was telling his emotions instead of actually showing me. He's like, so, but I still give it the full point because I felt like we got more in this one, and I was happy with what we got.
Yeah. I did like the emotion in this one a lot more than in the second one. But I think my where I take it down to a half point is the moments where the quieter moments when we're experiencing the character emotions, they're still over. I feel in a couple situations they're still overly explained and not like as much of an experience, like Lester and Rob being reunited, and I don't feel like I felt a lot of emotion in that situation. Like
Yeah, I don't
they
disagree.
it really glazed over how they how it didn't create the emotional air. It was more of them like briefly talking about it, but Lester was like, "I'm fine, I can handle this," and he didn't like really experience emotions like I would think that someone would after being kidnapped. And like the reunion for how they were together didn't create that emotional air. So it's for me, it's not so much in the emotional moments, because the emotional moments in this were handled well, as much as it is in moments where I feel like the emotions were too light. So that's where I took it down. And like I said, it's subjective. And if I'm just looking at these three books as a whole, I feel like I could give it a point. But I think like backing out of this world and looking at broader, like how emotions are handled in books and how emotional air is created, that I'm still only giving it a half point.
Yeah, I think you kind of swayed me in my point. I think I'm going from 1 to 1/2, just because we did have, a lot better representation of emotion in this. Um, but if you kind of like take it out and just look at it for what it is. Some of those big moments that I felt like we should have had, like you said with Lester, were kind of just like, hey, this happened, and then
Yeah.
that was kind of it. Mm. And I know those characters are still like Lester's still a side character, but it's like that was a big emotional moment. I felt like we should have got maybe a little bit more, but in that instance specifically. So probably a half point there. It was an improvement, going from 0 to a half.
Yeah.
It was definitely still there.
Yeah,
I just
definitely.
felt like it wasn't consistent enough to get the full point.
Yeah. It's
Have been
definitely a
swayed.
big picture thing. Like I said, just
Yeah.
looking at it in like how emotions are created
And that's
in
not,
books
I
as a
feel like
whole.
that's why reviewing sometimes is a little bit hard. It's because once you start talking it out, it's like, all right, these are my thoughts when I first initially finish it. Then you start talking out, it's like, okay, well, actually, I feel this way type thing.
Yeah,
Um,
if anything, I'm so much of a verbal processor that I feel like you almost sway me more frequently than I sway you, because once I start talking about it, I have to really understand my point of view going into it, because once I start talking to it, if I don't understand my point of view, I'm like, now that I'm talking about it, maybe I don't feel like that.
yeah, be like that.
It's it be like that. All right, so from there, on to the writing style in prose.
No notes for me. I like it.
Yeah,
Full point.
the only notes I have here are positive, and I also gave it a full point, and I just wrote that the prose and style were very digestible, and that I felt like it was very different than the style in book 2. And
They didn't feel like the same writing almost. Like it
yeah,
just felt like I felt
it
like book two was a different creative choice, and he went back to a formula that he knew and in three in this book, and it worked.
yeah, and like we said, that's not talking at all about the storyline or the creativity. It's not like it's a copy and paste. It's just a stylistic choice. He went back to, I think, a style that he used in book 1, at least from our point of view. But book 2 felt so different stylistically. So yeah, I gave it a full point here for writing style in prose.
Yeah, meaningful themes and depth. Okay, I'll start this one. So I gave it a half point. I felt like we had the same themes as the other ones, which is fine. You have redemption is obviously one of the big ones. And in finding your place and fitting in. I just felt like it wasn't themes don't have to be, I guess, very deep. In terms of like the actual content itself has to be deep, but if you have a simple theme, you have to like there has to be more than just, oh, I chose to, you know, I don't even know. I was just trying to think of a really simple, stupid example. I just felt like for what the simple themes were, they weren't deep enough for me. We had very like Rob's redemption we had, and then I'm really struggling to kind of like I had to like nitpick to think of other ones. It just wasn't enough
Yes.
for
Do you
me,
want me
and it doesn't have to have them, but then there's just less of a point there.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I hate to be the like I hate to be like snip snap this way that way from one extreme to the next, because what I put in my notes here is I felt like the problem with book 2 is that themes were too on the nose, and that the problem with book 3 is that the themes are too soft. That like we don't I don't feel like we explored themes. Like there was a lot of moral dilemma that he had here, and I feel like we could have explored more themes inside of the moral dilemmas that he created for our characters, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like we really saw them fully explored, which I hate to sound nitpicky by in book 2
No, it
being
makes
like too
sense.
much themes, in book 3 being not enough themes.
I think just because you have more themes though, and them being on the nose doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can have polar opposites. You can um, what do you call it? Not overreach, overcompensate, going the other way. And I think that the themes were there, but they were just so small and they weren't explored because they weren't necessary, I guess, for we didn't have enough page time, I think, to get the story out
It's
and
true.
explore the themes
It's
as
true.
deep as we wanted.
Because there was so much crammed into it.
Which is again, it's fine. It's a smaller book. It's not meant to, but we don't have to, figure out the meaning of life in every single book that we read. Um, but I feel like if a character is going to go through a bunch of things and for there to be a good development and for there to be a lot of emotion, there's usually some sort of overarching theme that the character
Yeah.
is
I feel like
figuring out. We didn't get that here
I feel like
as much.
if I'm gonna directly put my finger on it, that the difference I think here between the half point and the full point for me is that like the half point is understanding that Rob had internal dilemma because of purgatory and getting fired from Angel Co. And I think that like the full point is like understanding that not just like Rob saying it's weighing on me, but Rob being like, am I worth it? Like, am I worth either of these? Like, what does my future look like because of how bad I was and of the choices I've made? So you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's more
Yeah.
than just us being told that Rob's having a hard time, but really like being with Rob to explore
Well, that's like we were saying with the
his
emotion.
value. What was
Like, I
that?
want to
Yeah,
see it talk. We
exactly.
talked a lot. Like,
And
yeah,
then to give another example, like it could have been another situation with Amy, because Amy comes to find this coven and she's like, yes, sisterhood. But again, it was like we were just told that that was a feeling she had. And it could have been a good opportunity to explore like them, like her being like, I didn't feel like I've had people there for me, and why is no one here for me? Like, I've got Nick and Nick's great, but like the sisterhood, and it's like we were told that she was happy to have the sisterhood, but it could have been more of like an experience seeing like her come to understand the value of like belonging.
yeah. The themes were more so just like the ones that were there were given instead of they're like, here, here's our theme, and then there was no like depth to that. So I think that's just where we lose it.
Yeah.
Lose the plot.
So
Not actually lose the plot. But
half
yeah.
point from both of us there on meaningful themes and depth.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And into our last category, rereadability and lasting impact. I think we both gave it a one here for the same thinking that we both like this world and would come back to it, and then
Yeah.
lasting impact.
Because I think with our rereadability, and I'll probably just explain it every single time, is it doesn't necessarily mean reread this exact book because I'm not a rereader. If I'm gonna reread it, it has to have been a really long time, or I need to catch up because, like with Red Rising, with Red God coming out next summer, I read them like it's almost 2 years ago now. I want to be refreshed. I'm excited to be back in that. But I feel like even these are so short. I wouldn't necessarily need to reread them to get into another book if there is one. But with this category, rereadability means I want to be back in this world if that opportunity arises. And I like this world and I like the characters enough where I would want to be back. So that's where it got the point for me. And I really lasting impact it got for me because this is one of those books that I randomly just we had like 300 plus
We had so many.
suggestions for indie month to pick, and I just everyone commented, and which was great, but like how do you pick something like that? Like I just randomly picked one up on Father's Day, and the first one I read, like I was just swimming around in the pool reading on my Kindle, and I read like 50%. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I like enjoyed this one so much. And then um I've enjoyed all the books, even the one that we didn't rate all that high. I still enjoyed the world. So I thought that this was lasting impact. Like it was more of a personal lasting impact than it changed my life type thing. It was more so like a wow, I was really impressed that I found this, and also they stick out in the shelves really nice too. So,
They do. They look really nice. Yeah.
that's my
So
point.
there we are. Gave it a full point there. Which do we, I think, with your being swayed, do we agree and we both come to a 9? Our
Yes.
RSQ average here is 9 points, and I think we definitely recommend it. I
Yeah.
it's tough to want to it's tough to recommend a third but not a second, because it's like, oh yeah, if you might not like, we didn't like the second one as much, but I will say from the big picture it was worth it for us to push through number 2 and to read number 3, because Ben's a great writer, the world that he's made is great, and we enjoyed
Yeah.
being in it. So we still recommend this book and we recommend this trilogy.
And I think that's one thing. I mean, because of the way we do it, we do them one at a time, which I still like the way we do it because one, we get to talk about each book individually. Because I feel like if you just review like a whole trilogy as itself, you can't really dive in as deep because you're more so broad stroking things. Like, I'll call out the person that commented on our last video. I'll just do it. They were like, "Oh, like why would you not, you know, do the whole trilogy and then review it?" It's like, well, this is kind of the reason because we get to talk about individual things, and we could talk about individual things that happen in each book. But as if you read the whole series, you could forget things, and then you don't get to dive as deep into each book. I feel like um, doing it as a
Yeah,
whole. So I
I
think
think
that
with Bloodsworn, did we just rate 2 and 3 together? I don't remember. I have to go back and double check. We talked about it. I don't know if we ended up rating them together or not, but yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I really like looking at each book individually. And to again address the comment from our last video, I feel like we were very clear about saying, hey, we're looking at this book by itself, knowing that it's a part of a larger whole, and we might change our minds on like recommending it after we read book 3, which did turn out to be the case. We liked book 3, and so it's like we liked book 1 a lot, we liked book 3 a lot. We thought book 2 was okay, so overall we'd still say, yeah, read the whole trilogy, read Ben's World. Check it out.
Yeah, because even though it wasn't our favorite one, I still enjoyed being in the world, like you said. So we definitely recommend the trilogy. And they're short, so just go read them all. Why would you not? Go do it.
Go
Um,
do it.
Go do it. So that is The Devil You Know trilogy by Ben Schenkman.
Boom.
That
We
is
did it.
all done. We did it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad we read those. Like I
I
said,
did too.
they're gonna hold a special place in my heart and my bookshelf.
Yeah, they're really unique. I don't know that we've had another world like this. There's a lot of books we read and we're like, oh yeah, really similar to other stuff, but this was really unique.
I still would call these a not so cozy fantasy,
Yeah, I agree.
urban fantasy.
Not so cozy urban fantasy. Ben, you should steal that tagline. Unless you don't like it, then you don't have to. That's totally your choice.
It is your choice. So now that those are finished, we are going to
Drum roll, please.
we are gonna wheel spin. We're not.
I
We're
could
skipping
totally
the
see
wheel
that behind
spin.
your back. It was ruined. The surprise was spoiled.
The problem is when we record, it doesn't show my whole thing. So it looked like I wasn't on camera, so I had time. Anyways, pretend you didn't see it. We're reading R.F. Kuang's new book, Catabasis. Very excited to dive in. We want to hop on the train while it's fresh for everybody, so that way we can get this review out quick, so we can let you know if you should read it or skip it. Very excited. It just looks intriguing. Like if I'm going to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, it does. It looks intriguing. The premise is intriguing. I personally am really excited to read this because I didn't like Babel.
You've got a gripe.
Yeah, I didn't like Babel, and I have a lot of people that I know that didn't like Poppy War. And so I'm really interested to be a fresh reader on this one and have a fresh opinion and say, this one does it. This one also didn't do it. It's going to be good either way. I'm here for it.
And I've never read this author, so it'll be a brand new experience for me because maybe she'll be refined in this one and I'll really like it. And then I'll go back and read something else, but like, this is poop. Or it'll end up, maybe this will launch the author for me. So like, if I like this one, maybe I'll be a little bit more lenient in the other ones. Who knows?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's all about, I mean, I feel like every book is a mood. Even if you're not a mood reader, you kind of are. Like, I feel like, how can you not be? And I also think it matters when you read things, in what order. Like, if you read something like so absolutely fantastic in one of your favorite books ever, and then you read a really good book next, but it doesn't hit like the other one. Like, recency bias is a huge thing. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it that people are like, oh, this book wasn't what you said. And it's like, but what was the context of your reading?
Yeah.
So,
what was the last thing you read? Any Hooser?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. And for being here. We appreciate you. And for even negative comments we enjoy talking with, and negative or positive, please comment. We love you either way. Thanks for being here for The Devil You Know. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a blast.
It's been a blast.
Check out all of our videos everywhere and follow along for Catabasis review.
All right. On that note,
RSQ out.